Yeah, that's right. I can hear the music too in my ears, and that's why I'm all kind of dancing around to it. But hey, welcome to A Valid Answer with Scott and Marshall. You have your capitalist conservative pastor and your social liberal atheist. How you doing over there in the land of hit and runs?
I'm doing all right. Better than the guys I just saw get
What
hit.
what just happened over there? You just posted this on Facebook just like 30 minutes ago, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I saw hit and run. I saw a very nice Mercedes speeding down Highway 1, slammed into the back of a little Nissan sedan, getting ready to turn into the little market there, and just took right on off. Didn't even stop. Didn't even come to a complete stop. Just tore on down the Highway 1. What can you do, you know? So
Take pictures and
well, I tried to get the license plate, but my eyesight hasn't been as good as usual. Uh, and I did call the police. I called 911, and the police did come out. And the first thing the police officer did was kick over my soda, entirely on accident. But I was like, really? That was my soda. That's what I get for being a good Samaritan. Next time I'll finish my drink
no
before I
good deed
check
goes
on
unpunished,
the
right?
injured. Right? Right.
So because of your experience, you believe that all cops are bad, right?
Absolutely, man. It's the last time I ever called 911.
Right, exactly. Isn't that how it works? That's how all police officers are. But
Right?
no, yeah, we're talking about something interesting happened. What did you hear about? Because you don't actually live here in Bakersfield anymore, but somehow
Right.
you heard some news of what happened with a local pastor here in town about a homeless center. What exactly did you hear, and how did you come about that? How did you hear it?
Well, yeah, all my friend live in Bakersfield. So, uh,
Did you just use that singular? All of my friend.
yeah.
Who is this
Um,
friend? Because it's not me, right?
no, of course not. They'll remain nameless to protect the innocent.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a church, and it's one of Bakersfield's largest
Yep.
churches, as I understand. And it's located in what is essentially an industrial district in
Yeah.
Bakersfield. There's scrap yards. There's Calcott, which is actually the largest cotton gin in the world, or at least it was at one time. I think it still technically is, although it seems like it's not operating at the same level that it used to operate at. We don't grow as much cotton here as
Yeah.
we used to. Um, but anyway, it's in this part of town it's near poor neighborhoods,
Yeah.
but
It is near neighborhoods. It's not just industrial. It's within walking distance of several
yeah,
neighborhoods.
yeah, and the whole area is poor,
Yep.
and
East Bakersfield area,
yeah,
for those who don't know it, by Mount Vernon, Cottonwood, Brundage, that whole area.
yeah, yeah, and so the city has had a tremendous homeless problem. We've been inundated with homeless for the past couple of years. It's gotten particularly bad. There have been a lot of people calling for cleaning up the issue. There have been homeless encampments, and they keep moving them
Hmm.
around from the homeless encampments
Yeah.
from place to place.
There's a lot of
And
it here in Southwest Bakersfield.
yeah, and the city has finally decided they chose a place right close to this church. There's actually a Catholic church there, by the way, as well. Um, they've made a decision to put a homeless shelter, 450 bed capacity shelter.
Hmm.
Now, what I have heard, from what I understood, and I actually read the pastor's letter,
Yep.
is the pastor, by the way, you know this pastor very well,
Yes, I do.
and I'll let you speak to that.
Yep.
And the pastor has said, this is too much in this area. We have a school here. We have a lot of things going on here. We would prefer for this to be a smaller shelter, perhaps 150 beds tops. Otherwise, we really don't think a 450 bed shelter near the church is really such a good idea. And so there's been a lot of blowback in the public.
Yep.
I have my own viewpoint on this. I'm sure you have your viewpoint on it. And I just kind of wanted to bring this up on the show and kind of let's have at it.
Yeah. The biggest thing is you're not entirely correct.
Okay.
So
Good.
you're not representing what the pastor said.
Okay.
Good, but not as bad as the news Channel 23 posted on Facebook that completely like twisted what he said. And it was really bad, really bad. Because it wasn't about not near my church. You're saying that it was about the church, and it was not about the church. If you actually go back and read about it, it was about the neighborhoods. It was about the neighborhoods that there. He mentioned the church because there is a school and a preschool at the church, but the church itself is actually,
well, it's
maybe
fenced,
it's well, not only that, it's about a mile away from where this actually is. But there are neighborhoods that are closer to that. Poor neighborhoods that are closer to that potential location. And he was more talking about the neighborhoods and the idea. It was three things. One, the size. There's no other homeless facility in Kern County that's that big. And placing something that's almost 3 times as big as any other homeless facility in Bakersfield or Kern County, as far as numbers of beds. Secondly, it was a place where there would be no requirements for staying there. You did not have to get off drugs. There were no programs. So you have criminal elements now, a large number of criminal elements hanging out in one place. And thirdly, it was next to very poor neighborhoods and schools, including the church and the preschool and the school that's there. Those were the main things. The size was too big. The fact that it would have a very large criminal element there because there wouldn't be the vetting that you would have at other facilities that are available, and a lot of times go with empty beds because people don't want to be vetted. They want to stay in their alcohol. They want to stay in their drugs. They don't want to partake in the programs to get any better. But that's a different side that we're going to talk about. But I believe the news and you somewhat have misrepresented what was actually posted by the pastor, and I think your bias played into that.
Well, that's fine. Of course, I have a bias. I'm glad you set the record straight. The record is straight now, as you stated it, right?
Josh Gunderson said I read that he mentioned property value. I don't remember reading that in the original, but maybe I missed that because of my bias. The original post is there somewhere. It doesn't seem to me like something that he would bring up, but I'm sure that's probably a possibility. I thought it was brought up by others, but it could just be that maybe he did. I did not see that, so I'm not gonna comment to that.
I don't have a recollection of it. I did read the statement, but it was about a week ago now.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday.
Yeah. So my take on this is, first of all, we did a show on the homeless about a year ago.
Yep.
And my advocacy is there should be no vetting. The important thing is to give people a bed and a roof and some sanitation and access to services that could be helpful to them. And other communities which have basically done give a house to the homeless sort of things, they found that it works. They found that it's a lot cheaper. It's much more effective.
Many?
What do you mean?
How many did they do? How many homeless did they house at what concentration in one spot?
I don't know. I don't have that data at my fingertips.
Do you think that?
I know New Orleans did it in particular.
Do you think that data is? Do you think that
Utah?
data? Do you think that data makes a difference?
Yeah, it could. I don't know, but I think it could. It may be important, and I think that it should be taken into account when developing an approach. So I'm not here to say that 450 beds is too many or too few. To me, at what point people are homeless, they need a place to spend the night that's safe and secure, where they can sleep soundly and get their rest, even if they are on drugs or alcohol or have other issues. For me, the real question is not what should this church do or what should the church's response should be. For me, the real question is, why do we have these problems in society to begin with? And why not? Why should the church do everything it can to address this issue? Why shouldn't it say we're going to mobilize and get people out there, and that's going to be, a massive part of our ministry? Now, as I understand, they already do have a homeless ministry or whatever out there. Is that true?
The church does not. People are. Josh Gunderson is speculating. People are asking. So I'll just clear this up right now, and then also for full disclosure, tell you everything. Yes, we are talking about Valley Bible Fellowship. The senior pastor there is Ron Vietti. I attended that church for 30 years. I worked there. He was my boss for 15 years. So there may be. And again, I left there. I no longer attend there. It's been 6 years. I go to a different church now. I work at a different church now. I work at New Life Church. Actually, I'm actually at. In my office right now. So full disclosure on that is a place that I'm very familiar with. It's a location I'm very familiar with. My brother still works there. My brother works security there. My brother's a security guard. I have a vested interest in the safety of that neighborhood. My brother still works there. My mom lives a little farther away, but she lives, in that area, about a mile from the church and stuff like that. So that is the whole area there. And, yeah, so that's full disclosure on our part. We are talking about that area there. So yeah.
So
oh, sorry. And you asked me about the there is not a homeless facility at the church itself.
Right, but they minister to the homeless. Do
Minister
they
to
not?
the homeless. There is a food pantry at the church. That food is given to anybody who asks. Again, this is going off of when I worked there 6 years ago. I'm assuming that it's all still working the same way. There is an active food pantry there at the church. Anybody who shows up and asks for food is given to them. And excuse me. And the church, as far as I still know, financially supports the rescue mission, and financially and has ministries and people who serve at the rescue mission. And then instead of reinventing the wheel, so to say, they're supporting a program that already that's been for decades. Has decades of experience in offering homeless facilities and programs to get people off drugs and alcohol and turn people's lives around and everything like that. So the church fully supports that. I believe still financially supports that. And absolutely the heart of the church is to support those programs.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. I'll tell you a little story here real quick. Yeah. It's very short. When Pope Francis became Pope, he went to visit the Vatican almoner. He's a Polish archbishop. And
what's an almoner?
It's a person who gives alms to the poor.
Got it. Okay.
Basically, it was a Polish archbishop. I believe he still holds the post. His responsibility is to give money to the people who need money and support, material support as well. Yep. It could be food, blankets, housing, money, you name it, all around the world. Pope Francis paid him a visit and said, "Why aren't you out there in the street handing out alms? Why aren't you helping people?" And this guy, he motioned to his desk. He told the Pope, he's like, "I've got all this paperwork." And you know what Pope Francis said? He said, "Sell your desk." And then he made the guy get up and get out and get into the streets and start ministering to the poor. So what Pope Francis did, and what he was kind of legendary for doing early on in his ministry, and he did it all throughout his career growing up until he became Pope.
Yep.
Was get out in the street and essentially get down in the trenches with the poor and be a pastor, exercise pastoral care, take care of people. So,
but at the same time,
why shouldn't all churches just be doing this? Sell everything you can and get out there and serve the poor. Why not?
No, that's good. But again, you have to remember that's actually not an example of leadership. That's not even what Jesus did. Jesus trained up his disciples to go and do that.
Okay, well, you're disciples, are you not?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You go, but again, leadership would be here's this person. Is the best way for that bishop or archbishop was the best way for him? Was the most efficient and best way for him to spend his time? Was it actually going out there and being the person handing out the food? Or is it better leadership and better efficiency and a better way of fulfilling the ministry to lead others to do that, to get out, to be, maybe sometimes you need to be at that desk because that desk and where you're calling out that you are leading. If you're just going to be a pastor to the individuals, then you can only reach maybe 50 or 60 people. Mm-hmm. At a time, maybe 100 people. But if you begin to raise up people beneath you and then you invest in those 10 or 15 underneath you, and those people are investing into, at one point, you're only really ministering to 10 or 15 people. And That's the best way to do it. That's leadership. Literally, what was it? Moses was advised that when he was trying to do all the things and answer all the questions for all the children of Israel while they're in the desert. And say, no, bring up some people that you trust. Invest your time into them. Let those people be judges for these little things. And so I don't necessarily believe that was the best thing for the Pope to do for that archbishop. I mean, that really is not an example of leadership. Now, if you can determine that talking to the person that you realize, oh, this person's just hiding behind their desk.
Yes.
Okay, then that's one thing. But that's not what's always happening. I don't believe that's what's always happening. And I don't believe that the best way to do something is for everybody to individually do that. I think there are people, you set up systems, you set up leadership, you set up, even in the Acts 2 church, when they were talking about deacons, say, hey, let's raise up some deacons to do this, because why the disciples literally were saying, why should we take time away from prayer and fasting and devoting ourselves to God to wait on tables? Let's bring in deacons to wait on tables. Let's find direction for what we're supposed to do. Let's do these things and bring in people to do this. Let's find trustworthy and let's raise them up to do that. I mean, I believe that there's systems to do that, and I believe that there are systems that work better to do that than you just going out individually and just saying, I'm going to do this.
What if waiting?
You can't reach nearly as many people.
What if waiting on the table is a form of prayer? What if that's a form of fasting?
It literally is not.
Okay, but what if
it literally is not?
Figuratively is.
But it literally is not.
Fasting.
It literally is not.
Well,
it's different.
Okay.
Your how you serve and everything like that. Yes, you're called as a Christian to serve and to serve others, but you're also called to serve God. You're also called to devote time to God, and it's not the same.
What does God want you to do? God wants you to take care of one another. I mean, at what point? I mean, at a certain point, you repent, right? We talked about you got to repent, right? You accept Jesus Christ. Okay, you've done that. Now, what does the good Christian do? Does the good Christian hole himself up in a monastery somewhere, like some hermits and Catholics do this as well? Mm-hmm. Do you do that, or do you get out in the trenches and start taking care of people? Because there are entire orders within the Catholic Church of monks and nuns who actually spend their entire life, not 24 hours, but a full day, every day, 5-7 days a week, taking care of the poor. They literally, this is their entire exercise. They have their spiritual exercise. They have time for prayer. They have time for fasting. But their job is to literally minister and take care of the poor and the people who are in need. Mm-hmm. We used to have Catholic hospitals in this country, and we still have Catholic hospitals around much of the world. Yeah. And there are sisters, religious sisters, nuns, if you will, sisters, who work in these hospitals, and that's their job. And if the patients can't pay for it, well, that's okay. They take care of them anyway. That's their entire work. To me, that is the most prayerful life a person can lead. To me, personally, So, yeah, it might not literally be on your knees, but on the other hand, I think it's a life of service that's quite worthy. And if you were, I don't know if you can put these two things in the scale and say, well, you prayed on your knees all day and you took care of the poor and the sick all day, which one would weigh more in the scale? But I think they're both pretty darn important. So why not have more people on the side of the scale taking care of the poor and the sick?
No, that's very good. And that is what the church should be doing. So mm-hmm. I'm going to say this. I don't believe at this point the church is doing enough. As a pastor, I will say that. I don't think the church in general is doing enough, at least in the United States. Again, we literally just had Compassion Sunday past 2 weeks, where we are working with Compassion International to sponsor children, particularly in Colombia, but it's all around the world. But with our church, we're sponsoring a very specific region, and then we're actually taking a missions trip coming in March, where people can actually go and meet with the children that are there. But we work with Compassion International, and that is an organization that is taking, the idea is, if you change the life of a child, you can then change the life of that child's family. If you change the life of that child's family, you can then change the life of the entire community. If you change the life of the entire community, you can change the life of the entire region. And it's the idea of building churches, feeding children, and if you can't get over there yourself, here's what it costs, and here's this ministry that is doing it. Here's this ministry that is already down there, established, and is doing it. And you can literally give to that ministry that is doing it and be part of it. Do you not believe that that's not part of it? I mean,
yeah, that is part of it. But there's also needy children right on your own block. You don't have to go to a third world country to find people in need. There's people in need right in your own neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to diminish the importance and the sacrifice that's happening on people who take mission trips. I think that's fantastic. I think that's wonderful. Things like Doctors Without Borders and all of these people, I think Caritas International, they feed millions of people. I think that's fantastic. So I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging what you just told me, but at the same time, there's people right in your own neighborhood who need that care. Why not have a massive emphasis on that? If all the church had just said, you know what, we're going to worry about the people in our neighborhood, I think we could make a bigger impact than saying we're going to worry about this really cool stuff overseas. We're all going to hop on a plane and fly overseas. It's not as glamorous to take care of the people in your neighborhood. It's very boring. It's very mundane and ordinary. But yet the need is just as significant in your own neighborhood, I feel.
Yeah, the need is there, but the need is not there as much. You have to understand that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why it's difficult. That's why it's difficult to get behind the need in America because the need in America isn't as much as the need in other countries. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean,
Bianca here is asking about local mission trips and hungry and homeless children and veterans and the elderly.
But Bianca there also said that the pastor's a joke, so I'm really not listening to anything she's saying because she doesn't seem to be.
Okay, but Scott,
so whatever.
Some people are gonna feel different than we do, and I think
but that's just ad hominem. That's just
well made.
Well, but that's just someone. That's just a troll. That's just someone who's just.
No, she's not a troll.
She's name calling. Sorry, maybe she's not a troll, but she's name calling.
She had a reaction to the initial story. And hopefully by listening to this podcast, she's kind of got the facts straightened out. I don't know if she has changed her mind as a result or not. Nonetheless, I think her question is a valid question.
And I think it's actually happening for those who want change. But again, in this country, the need in this country is not like the need in other countries. Most of these arguments are coming from people who've never actually visited another country, who've never actually visited a real third world country where there is no other hope. There is no corner to stand on with your sign and people are going to hand you $20 an hour. Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist over there. There is a real need.
I can make $20 an hour?
Yeah, easily.
See you guys later.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Except I think you have too much self, what is it?
It's work.
Yeah, no. But again, there's a real need in these other countries to where people literally starve. People talk about starving in America,
Well, people do go hungry here.
But I'm saying they don't starve.
Of help here in the United States.
Exactly.
Look at our veterans, right? Every time somebody proposes, let's do this, let's do that, people are like, but what about the homeless veterans? Well, okay,
there's a place for them.
The homeless veterans.
That's what I'm saying. There is a place for homeless people to go and not be homeless anymore.
And it should be the church.
And it is the church that is supporting that, and that is the rescue mission.
So then why is the church saying not in my backyard?
The church isn't saying not in my backyard.
Okay.
It's not saying not in my backyard. That is the lie that is being told about what's being saying.
Well,
it's saying let's be smart about it. Mm-hmm. Let's not overwhelm a single neighborhood. Let's spread it out. Let's make these and let's have some sort of vetting process so that you're not creating an entire criminal element.
Okay, but
that's what it's about.
Established that the whole vetting process thing is passé because it works as a barrier to getting people off the streets.
Because it's not. That's what I'm saying. They don't feel they have to get off the streets. In other countries, people really do need help. In America, most of what's happened, most of the people that this facility would have been for are for people who don't want to change. They don't want to follow the rules. They don't want to get off the streets. They don't. That's not the type of people.
But they're still human beings.
Right, but
they're
that's
still
not
entitled to a modicum of dignity.
No. You're required. No.
Sanitation.
Hold on. You're required for your own self-dignity. And if you yourself reduce your own dignity by your choice, then that's your choice. The church is here for people to come and say, I need help. Mm-hmm. I need help. I need to get away. I have sin. I need help. I want to be better. We are here as the church to help you get better. We are a hospital for people who are sick. If someone doesn't want to get well, if someone doesn't want to get well, is the hospital the place for them? If they're not interested in getting well, they don't want to get well, they want to stay sick. Should we force the hospital on them?
If a person, people don't always want to go to the hospital to get well.
But the hospital should be there
to get well. Maybe they just want, a place to sleep.
Right. They don't want to get well. They just want free stuff and keep living their lifestyle. That's going to keep them sick.
Well from a Christian perspective, Scott. You're saying well, but you mean well in a Christian context, which is come to Jesus and all that. There are a lot of people
Isn't that what the church is here for?
Who aren't interested in coming to Jesus. They're just interested in a place to sleep for one night and a meal. Maybe 2 or 3 nights.
But that's not the people we're talking about.
But
that's not the people we're talking about. The people we're talking about are people who just want to game the system, have no interest in getting better, and just want to reap off of everybody else's compassion.
So what do you want to do with those people? Would you rather have them in one place where they're more likely to eventually kind of come out of it and seek help?
They're not more likely to. No. I do want them. I do want them in a place where they're more likely to find help. But that's not what. But that's not what. But that's not.
Why are you putting up barriers then?
Because you can't get help when you're drunk. You can't get help when you're high. You can't get help when you're doing those things.
But
you can't get any better. It's not a step. It's simply a place to gather people who don't want to change and create a criminal element.
Then let them gather.
That's not helping them.
Let them gather there and park a police car out front. At least now you know where they're at.
Yeah, they're right. They're right in the middle of a neighborhood and schools and people's houses.
Put security out. Put a police car out. It's cheaper than chasing them.
Again. So you agree. Anyway. So you agree that there should be vetting. That's effectively what you're saying. You're saying here is this place, but you can't get out. Oh, so it's a prison.
No,
you're gonna make sure there's guards to make sure they stay in that area and not get out to the. Hold on. No. I'm gonna catch you on this. I just said that the neighborhoods are there, and you said put police. What were the police gonna do? In your eyes, what do the police do?
They're going to be present.
To do what?
Present. They're going to watch, and if the crime takes place, they'll make an arrest. If there's no crime, they're just going to watch.
Okay.
They're just present. They keep the community safe.
How many? How many are you going to have parked there?
I don't care how many it takes. 1, 5, 10, 100. I don't care. That's
you have that
job.
many? You have that many police?
It's cheaper to do it this way, as other communities have found out, than to go with the status quo. It's cheaper. So yes, we're going to use fewer public resources by doing it this way.
Carrie asks, how do you know that they don't want change? Because this facility is for people who don't want to be vetted. There already are facilities for people who want to change, and people are not using those facilities. This whole facility is being created as a place for people who don't want to live in the places that vet people and have programs for getting better. So we're talking specifically, Carrie, about a facility for people who don't want to change.
So, okay. So the other aspect of this whole question is, why aren't we attacking the root issues in our society that's creating all of these people who don't want change? They just want to walk around in a stupor all day and night.
That's right. So we should get rid of socialist programs.
No, on the contrary,
welfare.
We should get rid of capitalism that treats people as disposable. You know, we used to have mental health facilities until Ronald Reagan came around and closed them and shuffled most of those people into prisons and the rest onto the streets.
So you're okay with locking people up in mental health facilities?
If they need to be in a mental health facility, yes. Now, that's a medical, psychological determination. That's not one I can just make off the cuff. Mm-hmm. But yes, if you're diagnosed with a mental illness and you're a danger to yourself or others, and it's either that or prison or death, then yeah, that's the least of the different evils. It's certainly better than what we have in the status quo, which is where they're untreated and they're out doing crimes and they end up dead or in prison or hurting someone.
So what we should be building is places for people to live who have these disabilities and can be medicated and taken care of, right?
Well, yeah, these services should be available.
Okay. And so, which literally means you're calling that we should have places where people are vetted and on programs.
No.
That's literally what it is.
You don't create a barrier to come in the door. Now, once they're there, you make available to people the resources, and someday, sooner or later, they will choose.
No. You just said that we need facilities to detain mental health patients
if they are a danger to themselves or others.
Right, and once that's right now. Right. So hold on. So in order to find out if they're a danger to themselves or others, they must be vetted. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you want to build facilities to hold and detain vetted people to where they're kept, not homeless, but where they're kept provided.
Vetted, but
yes.
The vetting
thank you.
Is either
thank you. That's all we're talking about.
It's either voluntary vetting or they are vetted as part of the criminal investigation process because they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. They're breaking the law. But otherwise, if you're drunk or intoxicated or high and you want a place to spend the night and you want a meal to eat and you want a place where the toilet flushes or to take a shower, that facility should be there for you and there should be no barrier whatsoever to entry. You can come and go as needed. And eventually, hopefully, sooner or later, you will say, you know what? I'm going to talk to Pastor Scott. I notice he's here a lot. He seems like a nice guy. I'm going to talk to Pastor Scott. And then they get into your hospital, Scott. And I think that would be the greatest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not there, I tell you what, I want to be there. And I want them to talk to Comrade Marsh. And I'm going to get them cleaned up then. And I'm going to organize them, and then I'll have my little socialist army.
Excuse me, why aren't you there now?
Right, because I live 120 miles away.
Oh, there's no homeless people there?
There's actually not here. There's no facilities.
There's no homeless people in Santa Maria?
There are in Santa Maria, but not very many.
Is that 12 miles too far for you to go help?
Oh my gosh, really, Scott?
I'm just saying you're saying you would do it. I'm asking you what exactly are you doing?
Maybe that's what I need to be doing, huh? Maybe I need to organize a little socialist cadre at the homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm. So if you had if you did that and you organized it, would you need money?
Not necessarily.
You wouldn't need any money or any financial assistance to. You're going to supply
myself.
Right. So you would need some.
But there are social organizations like Food Not Bombs.
But I'm just saying.
Hold on. Project, right?
Hold on. But what I'm saying is, you would need money to finance that.
Not nearly as much as you think.
Right, but you would need money to finance that. Yes.
Again, Bako Burrito Project.
Hold on, but you would need money to finance that. Why can't you just say yes? Why can't you live in reality? Would you need money to finance that?
Yeah. Okay. A few dollars. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. What if I were to give you some of that money?
Well, then let's hop to it.
Okay, so if I were to give you some of that money and you go do it, is that me participating with you or is that not enough? Am I not doing enough?
Yeah, I think that you would be doing your part. You'd be doing a part.
So people who donate to an already existing facility that does these things, is that not enough?
No, obviously it's not, because we still have.
You just said it was enough
in our society.
You just said it was enough.
As an individual, for you as an individual, it's enough. However, the church as an organization is obviously not doing enough. So either they need more donations or they need more boots on the ground, if you will. But obviously enough is not being done in the status quo because we have tens of millions of homeless now in this country. I don't know what the actual figure is. I'm sure it's somewhere north of 10 million.
Okay. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to challenge that. I'm sure that sounds probably reasonable, I guess. But yeah, that's not. But the idea still is providing places for people to get better. not providing places for people to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
You're enabling bad behavior. But you have to create barriers to entry. Otherwise, you're creating places. You are actually actively participating and helping people get worse, not better.
And the evidence tells us that you're wrong, okay? Because there are a number of programs in the United States where they literally give free houses to homeless people, no strings attached, and they have much better outcomes
you can't tell me the
lower costs.
Right, but you can't tell me the numbers. But you can't tell me the numbers. You can't tell me the concentration.
We did a whole show on this, Scott.
No, but even then you didn't give us what's the concentration? What was the homeless situation before that? How many people did they give to?
Well,
how many beds were in one facility?
I'm going to trust that the reporters doing the reporting and the people responsible for reporting to the reporters.
No. I understand.
Know what they're talking.
I understand that, but I'm saying trying to draw that line of comparison to every other place where there's homelessness. There may not be a line of comparison.
But at the end of the day, there's a very simple remedy that seems to work to solve homelessness, and that's give people homes. Whether it's a bed for the night or a miniature house for however long they need it, give them these places, because once they have that stability, then they're more likely to access other services. When you create barriers, you say, we're going to do a fingerprint and an ID check or something at the door. We're going to do a breathalyzer. Are you high? You can't come in. Once you create those barriers, where do those people go? They go into the neighborhood, the surrounding neighborhood. And when they're high or under the influence or something, who knows what they're going to do? I would rather have them in one place at night with a police officer parked out front, and you have first responders or expert, people who are mental health professionals on scene, ready to help those people who want help, as well as pastors.
You literally want to create a ghetto.
Well, okay. Would you rather the ghetto be in one place or spread out across the whole city?
You don't have a ghetto spread out across the whole city. A ghetto is a concentrated area. That's what you're creating. You'd be creating a ghetto.
Until you start get serious about solving the underlying problems in our society, capitalism, by the way, which creates a population of some 6 million homeless. I just looked up the number in the United States. Then we are going to have this issue, and we can now choose our poison. We can either have these people in one area where it's cheaper and more efficient to get them the resources they need to get on their feet, or we can let it be and let them wander around every community and neighborhood, depressing property values.
And I'm not arguing about letting it be.
Crimes and doing all these other things.
Not arguing about letting it be. Arguing about creating reasonable places that offer help, not creating a ghetto.
I think ghetto is a loaded term here, Scott. I don't like your use of the term, since it kind of alludes to the Jewish ghetto, the Warsaw ghetto, if you will. And I don't think that either.
No, that's not. That's okay. So maybe the etymology of the word ghetto. I'm referring to ghettos in the United States. I'm referring to large.
Well, that's also caused by capitalism, and we need to solve that too. But that's another podcast.
So this would be a ghetto created by socialism.
It's not a ghetto at all. Okay, I don't know how many people have to live in an area to call it a ghetto, but at the end of the day, the purpose is not to contain people. The purpose is to get people out on their feet and graduate them out into society where they
hold on. But you literally just said, isn't it better to put them all in one place? Isn't that containment? Isn't that what you're advocating?
Okay, would you rather have a hospital with 1,000 beds in the middle of town, or would you rather have a hospital bed on every street corner? Because I would rather
people. You know what? If there's a large epidemic and you're putting it all in one spot, yeah, you could be. You can not necessarily a ghetto. You could be creating an epidemic by putting it all in one spot. Let's spread it out. I don't want 1,000 bed hospital. Let's have 5 200 bed hospitals spread out throughout the city. That's better. Is that not better? Is it not better to have 5 200 bed hospitals instead of 1,000 bed hospitals?
At the end of the day, we're either going to have homeless people on every street corner in Bakersfield, or we're going to have them in one area where we have a much higher probability of getting them back on their feet and returning them to polite society. You get to pick.
I pick multiple facilities.
Okay.
multiple vetted facilities so that we can get people to help. Multiple hospitals.
And you know what? If the data says that's the best way to approach this, you know what? I'm all for it. I don't care if you have 550 bed facilities or one 450 bed facility. I'm all for that. I don't care one way or the other. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Well, no,
but
it does make a difference. That's what I'm saying. That's why I think your thinking is wrong, because it does make a difference. It has an impact. The bigger you get it, it has a greater impact on the area that you put it in. It has a bigger negative impact. Fine. It does make a difference.
But by gosh, do it.
Yes. Let's do it. Let's create more facilities that have vetting. Maybe there's got to always be vetting. There's got to always be vetting, but maybe we can discuss what that can be.
Maybe.
Because even you agree there has to be rules. Even you agree that there has to be rules for people to live by when they're there.
Well, there's already rules. It's called the law. Okay, as long as you're not hurting someone else. We're not going to criminalize being drunk or being high. I don't want the police.
But I'm just saying. So that. In this area, so if it's a teenage runaway and homeless, they can stay here?
Yes.
Okay, and if they're a 35-year-old pedophile, they can stay in the bed next to the teenage homeless person?
Yes.
Wow, Marshall.
Yeah, well, obviously the place has some kind of security, right?
Well, no, it's beds. They're beds right next to each other.
Oh, okay. And there would probably be somebody on watch. Okay, there's probably going to be
just to make sure that so you're going to watch every single person. So you're going to put cameras. You're going to put cameras. Right. So this is a prison facility then.
But it's different because people can get up and leave anytime they want.
Right. So you have enough security.
You know what?
You will have enough
right there. You can report the crime.
Yes. Hey, I just got molested by this pedophile in this bed next to me, but he left last night and I can't find him.
He goes straight to jail.
But he already left last night. But he already left last night. We can't track him. We don't know who he was because we didn't vet him before he came in. We don't know who it was.
Really?
We don't know where it was because we didn't vet him before he came in.
Okay.
Vetting is necessary for safety.
Okay.
Why can't you see that, Marshall?
Okay, so you would rather have an unvetted person wandering the streets, wandering around potentially in your own backyard. You're okay with that then?
Yes, because that person would stand out and not have a place to be instead of being able to mingle in.
Bakersfield, they don't stand out anymore. They stand everywhere.
Right, but you see them.
Yeah, they stand they're everywhere. Mm-hmm. They're a dime a dozen.
So let's build more facilities and vet.
No.
Build more facilities and vet.
No, you don't create a barrier to entry, though. I would rather have, especially if
you would rather have a minor runaway molested by a pedophile.
Really? Talk about straw man fallacy.
Well,
Scott.
no, I know, but I'm just saying. You're okay. You are okay with that facility.
No, I'm not okay.
You're not okay with that situation. Hold on, you're not okay with that situation. I'm not going to say you're okay with that situation. You're okay with that facility.
Yes.
You're okay with that facility that facilitates that action.
No, it's not going to facilitate crime.
Yes, of course.
It can. That's why you have all the other safety factors there.
You can't have that much security. So you got to take away their privacy. So all the beds are going to be watched by somebody. All the beds are going to have a security person there. You're going to have cameras in all the rooms where all the beds are. You're going to monitor every single person.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
No privacy.
I don't have an issue with that if that's what it takes to ensure a safe facility.
Because
that facility is going to be 100 times safer than the streets.
No, it's not.
Because what you're going to end up creating is that little kid's going to be on the street.
Okay, so I want to understand this. You're saying that molestation and rape does not happen in prisons.
Really, Scott?
I'm asking you. Does molestation
on the streets too?
I'm saying, but you're trying to argue that it won't happen in prisons because prisons are monitored and there's plenty of guards and everybody's under security and it won't happen. That's what you're saying. You're saying this facility will be a safe place because it's monitored, just like prisons, right? Crime doesn't happen in prisons, right?
When crimes occur, there should be security on site as well as local law enforcement to haul the perpetrator away.
Or how about let's not create a facility?
How about having the crime occur on the street?
How about let's not create a facility that concentrates these crimes together?
Because if we're going to do strawman here, you would rather a person just be human trafficked. You'd rather that kid never make it home.
No, I would rather that kid go to a facility where they come in and say who they are and they get treatment and they get better. That's what I want. Well, I want them to get better. I don't want them to get molested.
But I'm not going to create a barrier to entry. I'm sorry.
But the barrier keeps them safe.
No, the
vetting
people on
keeps
the
them
street when they're in
safe.
greater danger, Scott, and that's what countless experiences across this country have already told us. I put a link in the comments already to one particular case, and there are many such stories which people can Google.
All right, sounds good. Well, this has been A Valid Answer with Scott and Marshall. You can catch us Sundays at 5 o'clock right here on Facebook. Valid Answer on Facebook, Currentcast on Facebook, currentcast.com. Until next time, I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week, but you can catch us 5 o'clock. Right? Are we good for next week?
Yep.
I almost thought I wasn't going to be here this week, but it turns out we went to go see my son's play last night. And actually, my wife is actually at the play today helping serve there and do that. But yeah, so it turned out we could do the show. So trying to think. I don't know of anything coming up. I had my son here this week. He came and visited from college.
It's great.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing, I don't know if you can see it. That's why I'm wearing my shirt. It says Biola Parent. So.
All right.
So until next time, Sundays at 5, this has been A Valid Answer. I'm Scott.
I'm Marshall.
All right, we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.